From a defabricated solar-powered garden shed in Rockland County, New York, USA, this is Stand Up with Pete Dominic. On today's episode, dealing with the next family ski trip when you're busy stress eating the shit out of that crappy lodge hamburger. And now, the podcast host who has no problem with such things because he takes all those ski burgers to go, Pete Dominic.
Thank you very much, Pete Co. You are right about that. I take good care of my meals, the entire experience on ski days. Unlike yourself, I know. Pete Co. just sent me a polo from the resort. He sent me a video. That's a Marco Polo video chat message of him at the top of the mountain there in California. And I couldn't hear a goddamn thing he was saying because it was so windy. I think it was something about, I'm never doing this again. I've injured myself too many times. I'm too old. I'm glad my son likes it, but snowboarding is not for me. I think that's what he said. Hello and welcome to today's show. Thank you very much for joining me. I have a very special guest, the specialist guest, one of the most important people in my life. It's my dad. My dad is joining me today. Chizzle D, as longtime listeners know him, Chuck Dominic of Syracuse, New York. 78 years old, my dad. We sat down and talked yesterday before the Super Bowl because he and my mom came down for the weekend. We had an excellent time. I'll be talking to my mom as well, but they have been married 51 years. And the reason why I interview my dad is because he's always great in an interview. Obviously, we have great chemistry. He's my dad. He made me. I'm his son. I've influenced him with humor, with thoughts, with philosophy about life. And part of why I talk to my dad and tape the conversations is because every time I do, I get a tremendous amount of positive feedback. And there's always a good amount of it that people say, you're so lucky to still have your dad. And I love listening to your conversations with your dad because I feel like it's talking to my dad. And so I just think that's the coolest thing in the world, that anybody would enjoy these chats and get something from them and feel any kind of sense of love and warmth that my dad and I, of course, have for each other. So that is coming up. I think you're going to like it. It's funny. It's thoughtful, thought-provoking. As always, a visit with Pop. We had a great weekend here, and Ava is about to leave tomorrow for Spain. So that's really exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking, but we're confident she's going to have a great time there. And her senior trip, her senior year, taking a trip all on her own to see friends that she has there. It's really exciting, and I'm really excited for her. Of course, it's the day after the Super Bowl. Did you watch? Do you care even about the halftime or the commercials? It was pretty cool that my daughters and my wife and me and my parents were all in the same room watching a show live on TV. That rarely happens, if ever. And we really made the best of it. By the way, I made potato skins for the first time. Nailed it. Very proud of myself for that. It was a great football game. Of course, Kansas City came out ahead. Controversial call by a referee and some controversy, I guess, about the halftime show. Not really. I mean, Rihanna performed amazingly, I guess. I mean, who am I to judge? It looked like she was flying. I was pretty impressed by that. I was also very worried about her and the other performers that were being suspended by platforms. I think that caused some concern, especially because during her performance, we found out she was pregnant. At least that was the rumor. It was confirmed later by her reps. But I was like, please don't fall. Oh, my God, this could be the worst possible thing. I'm sure they had precaution after precaution, but she gave a great performance, I guess. I'm partial to when they keep escalating the moment by bringing out more and more legendary performers, or I like a whole band playing together in such situations. But I thought she and the dancers and all the special effects did a great job in Arizona last night. Apparently Donald Trump did not. He savaged the singer, saying it was something like the worst Super Bowl performance of all time. And people are wondering why he would do that. A lot of people are saying because she's a black woman. That's why. But anyway, who cares what he thinks? It's just further evidence that he is a garbage person as he mounts another run for the presidency. And while speaking about him, the only news I'll mention about him is that Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, seems to be moving really, really fast on his investigations into Trump on his classified files, as well as the January 6th insurrection. So I'm following that closely. Other than that, horrific news over the weekend as the death toll continues to climb. The earthquakes that have affected Turkey and Syria, death toll now, more than 36,000 on Monday. Survivors and building experts blamed poor construction for the extent of the destruction and the number of fatalities. The government has responded by arresting builders tied to collapsed buildings in an expanding response to the outcry. But construction experts are saying the public officials who signed off on the inferior work should also be held accountable and responsible. The true culprits are the current government and the previous governments, according to a former president of the Chamber of Construction Engineers. So it's a total mess in terms of whose fault, who's going to be held accountable. But mainly right now, the search and rescue operations continue to be ongoing. More than 36,000. Obviously, we expect that number to count. Just absolutely horrible. On Thursday night, we spoke with a listener and member of our community, Anna, who I'm trying to get on to talk to us. She was born and raised in Turkey, and it's just heartbreaking to hear from people and paying attention there. Send them thoughts and prayers and money and whatever else that you can to help the relief efforts. And news keeps breaking. It's hard to keep track of, but the American military keeps shooting down flying objects. Let's see. U.S. military jets yesterday shot down a flying object over Lake Huron, the fourth such incident in the last week. The first was a Chinese surveillance balloon downed off the coast of the Carolinas last week after it crossed the U.S. Friday and Saturday, U.S. fighter jets downed objects in remote areas off the northern coast of Alaska and over Canada's Yukon Territory. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said national security officials believe those unidentified objects were balloons, but smaller than the first one. A Pentagon spokesman said the other objects did not closely resemble the massive first balloon. And another Pentagon official said there was no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. The Biden administration, of course, facing pressure to offer an explanation, but officials are really unsure what the latest objects are, who sent them. We just keep shooting them down. Apparently, I read U.S. military fighter jets have not shot down anything since like the Gulf War or something in the U.S. in air-to-air combat. Not that was air-to-air combat, because I don't think those balloons were shooting back. But you know what I meant, right? Hasn't happened in years, and now it's seemingly happening every day. I saw a video that somebody doctored up using special effects of a half-destroyed Star Wars TIE fighter on the side of a highway, like it had just been shot down. Thought that was pretty funny, but we'll be keeping a watch on that, maybe interviewing somebody about it as well. If you've seen any good guests in media, let me know. I did think it's worth mentioning last night at the Super Bowl, we saw Elon Musk hanging out with Rupert Murdoch there. And a couple weeks ago, he's at the World Cup hanging out with Jared Kushner and the Saudis. Last week, he was hanging out with Kevin McCarthy, and now he's hanging out with the Merchant of Death, Rupert Murdoch, at the Super Bowl. Ellie Mistal said, too bad Lex Luthor wasn't there. Tell me who you're in bed with, and I'll tell you who you are. I think I saw somebody smart tweet that. At this point, if anybody doesn't have a good idea of who Elon Musk is, then let me know. I'll advise. And finally, getting into those Super Bowl ads, apparently they were mainly made to make viewers feel good in intense times, although there's always controversy. Those Jesus ads pissed off a lot of people, of course, but the Associated Press writes, with a possible recession looming and the war in Ukraine escalating global tensions, Super Bowl advertisers avoided, quote, edgy humor or experimentation. And this year's closely watched commercials during the championship football game and focused on positive themes with light humor, celebrities, and plenty of dogs, according to the Associated Press. This year's ads took a very light touch and focused on being fun and making the viewer feel good, said marketing professor at Villanova University Charles Taylor. Dunkin' Donuts ad featured Ben Affleck taking drive-thru orders. I like that one. It also had Jennifer Lopez. General Motors and Netflix added Will Ferrell tout their deal to show more electric vehicles in Netflix shows, and the ads cost up to $7 million per 30-second spot and reach 100 million viewers. I think my favorite ad was actually the Blue Moon ad, where it just showed a Coors Light and a Miller Lite guy fighting like it was one of their beers. And then at the very end, they just put a Blue Moon on the counter. I thought that was pretty fun. All right, well, that gets you caught up on, I think, some of the most important stories from the last couple of days. I'm sure I missed a lot. You can always send me your thoughts. standupwithpete@gmail.com. Also, want to give a plug to Matty Carlson, who is a longtime listener and subscriber of the show. He's launched his own project, and episode 1, he's got a Substack where he writes articles and talks about music and life, and he's a really deep and thoughtful guy. He's very vulnerable and honest. You've seen him at our Hangouts. If you're a subscriber and you hang out, he's connected with a whole bunch of listeners. He's got his own thing he's just launched, and the first episode of the podcast is today, starring guess who? Really great first guest. It's me. So go check out What Am I Making, episode 1. So go check out Maddie Carlson's What Am I Making, episode 1. You can subscribe free if you like it. You can pay for it, of course. If you hadn't have enough of me and my dad on today's show, then check that out. We had a really great conversation, and go check out that new Substack, whatamimaking.substack.com. I think Matt and I are going to sit down Wednesday and have a chat to promote it here. I love promoting anything that you are doing, especially if you're a longtime listener and subscriber like Matt, so many other folks that I want to talk to about the great things that you're doing in life and making and creating and building and spreading love and connections and kindness and joy, whatever you got. It's of interest to me. Send it my way. standupwithpete@gmail.com. All right, now it's time to chat with my dad. I think you know him. Told you a little bit about him, but retired, married to my mom for 51 years, owned an insurance agency, had some investment properties that he managed for a real long time that he owned, some like strip mall stuff, which was a huge part of his work. His most reliable tenant of all was an adult bookstore. Guy paid his rent in quarters after he sold his business especially. He's taught skiing for over 40 years and also teaches driving at Watkins Glen and other race car racing tracks. He teaches guys how to race their cars. He's a Corvette guy, my dad. Those are just a couple of his passions and hobbies, of course. He's not formally educated, but he's a real smart guy, as you know, because of the life he's lived, the conversations he's had with the people that he's met, the places he's gone, what he's read and learned. He's an autodidact, my pop, and I'm so glad that he is doing so great and loves talking to me on this podcast. We always have great conversations, and so I thought we'd do something a little different to kick off your week. I think this is a feel-good conversation, a lot of laughs in here, I hope. It's me and Chizzle D, me and Pop. Here we go. All right. Okay.
All right, okay.
All right. Sir, what is...
Yeah.
What are your pronouns?
Pronoun? My pronouns?
Yeah. He?
What?
Do you identify as he, him?
He, him? Do I identify?
Do you identify as he?
I identify as me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's going to confuse everybody.
Yeah, I know.
Not everybody knows who you are, and they want to be...
Oh, I'm your father.
Okay, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Always a big hit. My dad. We're talking. I'm taping. I'm rolling, Dad. Here we go.
Okay. Glad to hear I'm always a big hit.
It is Super Bowl Sunday. We're about to watch the game, and so I just we don't know the outcome of the game. Everybody listening will.
They didn't play it yet.
But I wanted to just ask you about football. You've always been a football fan. You took me to college football games at Syracuse University when we were growing up. You took me to the New York Jets, Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Why do you like football?
It's fun to watch.
You never played?
No, I didn't play. I weighed about 82 pounds when I was 14, so I didn't play. They thought I was, they looked in the duffel bag and they thought I was in one of them.
They thought you were the size you could fit in a duffel bag.
I could fit in a football player's duffel bag.
Yeah,
I was accused of that when I was a freshman in high school. I looked at one of the football players. What do you got in the bag? Another freshman?
Right.
Looking at me.
Right. Now they had a football team at your high school.
Yeah, very good.
Did they have face masks back then, or was it just like leather helmets? How old are you in terms of the equipment?
Boy, that's a good question. I don't remember any masks on anybody.
Right.
No. We had a lot of ugly kids in the class, though, from getting smashed in the mouth.
All the football players' faces were all
they were
messed up because they had invented a face mask.
The hockey players had teeth missing, but we didn't have a hockey team.
You didn't have any.
No.
And so... You still love watching football.
Yeah.
Do you root for one specific professional team? Do you still root for the Jets?
No, I'm a Jets fan, and I don't care what they do.
Right.
Because it's a lost cause.
Can we be Buffalo Bills fans moving forward?
Sure. I like Buffalo Bills. Yeah. I mean, you got to like somebody else if you like the Jets.
Why? A lot of people ask me, growing up in Syracuse, New York, why did your dad watch the Jets and why did he make you a Jets fan?
Joe Namath.
Just for, you loved Joe Namath.
Joe Namath was my guy.
Yeah.
Because we led parallel lives.
You were just like you were broadcast Chuck Dominic.
No,
Hollywood Chuck.
No, he didn't broadcast. I mean,
no, they called him Broadway. I'm sorry,
Joe.
Broadway Joe.
I was Valley Drive Chuck, and we were about the same age. And he led the life that I was leading at a minor league scale.
Speaking of...
He had money. I didn't have any money. He had a lot of women. I had once in a while.
Right. I wanted to ask you about...
He had nice cars. I had $40 Chevy.
Right. So same guy, basically living the same life.
Basically parallel, I would say, yeah. If he met me, he probably would have said, Jesus, I can see a lot of similarities, like looking in a mirror.
Right. Yeah. I can see it now.
I can't.
Oh.
Of course, I could now. He's old and ugly, and so am I. So there's still a lot of parallels there.
Don't be unkind to yourself.
No, it's okay. I'm old and ugly, and so is Joe Namath. I hope Joe doesn't hear this interview.
He's a huge listener.
Yeah, I bet he is. Oh, boy.
You grew up in the city of Syracuse.
Syracuse, New York.
You came of age. You're born in Cortland, New York, but you grew up. All your memories
are Syracuse. I fancy myself as a Syracuse boy.
But basically, you grew up in a fairly kind of...
How do you like that term, fancy myself?
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
You grew up in kind of an urban setting, but in a traditional house with a detached garage, if I recall, a nice little yard.
Yeah.
And what was it like growing up there? Was it fun? You're always outside playing with others?
It was a lot of fun. Growing up in that neighborhood was a lot of fun. I was the only kid who was half Italian, half Lebanese, and everybody else was Irish. It was very blue collar.
Everybody else was Irish. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. It was mostly Irish.
Well, names like O'Hara, McCarthy, Feeney. I mean, you're really Irish kids. Yeah. And then it was blue collar. Everybody's dad worked.
Were there not like even other Italians? There must have been Italian.
No Italians. No.
Must have been an Italian section.
Italians were on the north side. We were on the south side. My mother didn't want to live in an Italian section.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Why not? She was Italian.
Because she had been persecuted so badly that she says, I just don't want to put up with this anymore, and I want to get away from it.
For real?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But she was persecuted in an Italian neighborhood.
We lived in. I was born in Cortland, New York. There was a law there that nobody, no Italian could live on Church Street. Oh, Jesus,
I see what you're saying. You're saying in Cortland they were not kind to Italians.
Yeah. So when we moved to Syracuse, she says, I don't want to live on the north side. So we moved to the south side with the Irish
I understand.
People.
She literally didn't want people to know she was Italian.
Well, it's not that she didn't want to know. She says, you're an American. I'm an American. That's who we are.
Right.
She was first generation. I was second. So we were Americans.
Did your dad have any connection to his or thoughts about his own? He was Lebanese. Both his parents were Lebanese.
Well, yeah. It was a strong Lebanese, background and family. Yeah.
And what was it? Was there anything with an Italian guy and an Italian woman and a Lebanese man? Was that was all
fairly
kosher?
Common, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a lot of cities in upstate New York that had strong, like Utica and certain areas had a lot of Italians and a lot of Syrian Lebanese, and they had a lot of intermarriages. They came out with some really strong kids, me being one of them.
So what?
No, I mean, it was a good mix.
You saying you were a strong child? You were a strong breed,
strong person. Yeah,
Italian, Lebanese, strong.
Our breed was strong, a strong breed.
You're almost like a horse. It sounds like
sort of, kind of, yeah. You can
a real thoroughbred.
We were bred that way.
You were a tiny fella, though, right? So when you're playing neighborhood sports, you were.
I was a star in the neighborhood.
No, come on. Would you say you were in middle of the road, top notch, or a complete loser? Like when you pick teams, it'd be like, I want Chuck or not.
They would let me pick just so I'd save the embarrassment every once in a while.
Come on, you weren't
being last.
Were you? Because you were a tiny feller.
Yeah, it depended on what sport we were playing.
Right.
I never got picked for basketball.
Right. Yeah, we don't play.
No.
We weren't allowed.
Every once in a while, somebody say, you're up pretty fast. I'll put you on my football team, and we'd play like 3-on-3 or something.
Why did you move? I'm going to fast forward a whole bunch. When we were born in the city of Syracuse ourselves, you and Mom had us, and then you moved out to, how would you describe where you still now live, that street, that area, that development? I would say like...
the middle of nowhere.
Would you really say that?
Yeah, there's nothing there. I mean, it's just us and a farm around us. But
you have houses, I mean, on the street.
Yeah, it's, you know what it is.
Why did you want to move there?
To the country?
Yeah, why did you want to move to the country, having grown up and spent most of your life kind of in a pretty densely populated neighborhood?
I wanted a nicer house on more land, and I didn't want it. That's where we went.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we ended up. And, I'll tell you, seriously, as a kid, I could almost walk. We used to hike, and we would go up to that area where I live now. And I always wanted to live up there. When I was 12 years old, I thought it would be really cool to live up there on the top of the hill. So that's where we are now.
And what do you love about...
Childhood dream came true. Here I am.
Did you ever have any regrets of moving up there?
No.
What do you love most about living in that area then and now? Just it's quiet, nature?
Well, it's Syracuse, New York, so you can afford to live there. Anybody can afford to live in Syracuse. It's wide open. We got a nice house, nice piece of land. If you describe that in some parts of the country, you'd pay $1 million, and in Syracuse is like 120. So really pretty. live there.
Yeah, and it was great.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
growing
You
up there
guys,
was awesome.
you guys grew up with a good life.
Great life.
We provided for you. We did a good job.
What were some of your favorite
champion job
things that we did
parents.
growing up? Skiing obviously was pretty much the best, I'd say, right?
In the winter, yeah.
In the winter.
Yep.
What else did we do that you had fun doing, that you enjoyed doing? Yeah, let me pick a fight. You tried to get us to enjoy auto racing of different sorts, and I recall every time just being, not again, over. Dad. It's and mainly because I didn't understand it, and it was very loud on a child. You put us out there with these very loud cars with no ear plugs or anything.
Yeah,
brutal.
That's like throwing you in the deep end and see how it goes. Didn't go well.
Although I did get to see, I didn't meet him, but I got very close to seeing Paul Newman because he was a race car driver, and we watched him race.
Yep,
he was the first famous person I ever saw in person.
Yep.
Then came, of course, Mark Gastineau. We'll come back to that. Oh. But why would you took us to a lot of auto racing, would you say?
Not a lot. No, I took you to a few. I took you to a tractor pull once.
I remember that.
Ooh, was that loud? And then, stuff like that. I wanted you to get these experiences of life's experiences. I also took you to some wrestling matches.
Yeah. We loved that, though, right?
Yeah, you did. Oh, boy.
You hated that. You took us because we wanted to go to that. And
and you had all the dolls of the
dollies.
I often wondered about that. That was kind of screaming. Played with dolls.
I was playing with the dollies? Yeah, well, hold on a second. What's the difference between playing with those and a G.I. Joe action figure or a Star Wars action figure?
What's the difference?
I mean, is there any difference?
No, they were all...
What about a baby doll? What if I had a little baby doll when I was...
Well, you did. I took it away from you.
I think I'm going to have to edit that out.
Yeah.
I don't want people to know about little PJ. That's what I named him because you guys wouldn't call me PJ.
Her. She had red hair.
She was actually, she had no gender. She was the first real outspoken,
non-transgender,
non-binary dolly.
Answer the question, which are you?
She was way ahead of her time.
Yes, she was.
Way ahead of her time.
Oh, yeah.
So what things did you do that you really liked? You bought a boat at one point? I think legend has it that you said, do you guys want a boat or a pool? Is that right? Did you give us that choice?
No.
Oh.
No, no.
I made that up in my head?
It's in your head.
Should call Brian right now.
Bought a boat so you guys could go water skiing.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. Caused you a lot of headaches.
Got rid of the boat.
Caused you a lot of headaches. Fair to say that boat?
Fucking boat.
I think the worst thing I ever experienced was watching you try to get it out of the water the first time. Yeah. That very first time, it was tough. People were waiting, and you didn't know what you were doing. None of us did.
Then they told me the bow goes in first, and I said, what's the bow?
Right. That was problematic.
Yeah.
You were trying to put it up engine first, which even I was saying, Dad, I don't know much.
No. Well, I thought the engine would hook on the trailer.
Is that right?
Pull it out, yeah. We got her whipped around there, and it wasn't that bad after a while. Yeah.
I remember.
It was a big boat. It was 16 feet long.
Some of the angriest just flashes of anger I recall from my childhood was when that the prop of the boat, the propeller, hit the ground more than a couple times, and I recall you being really upset about that.
Yeah. Well, it was expensive stainless steel prop. I found out, and I got it fixed for what was then to me considerable amount of money, and then the first thing I did was hit it on a rock. The first time, like 10 minutes after I put it in the water, I destroyed it again. So those were. But you guys had a good time with the boat.
Yeah.
Growing up, you and your brother, and a lot of good stories. Stories that I am sure I've never heard yet to this day on that boat.
Nah. You heard it all. It was nothing really crazy.
I know it was a real chick magnet.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had.
It was one of those things that's like, I had a boat, but somebody else had a better boat, so the girls just went on his.
I'm sorry. I should have bought you a better boat.
You should have gotten us a Mastercraft.
Yeah.
That would have really changed my masturbation.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, so.
I'm in the middle of the lake. Who can see?
Yeah, well, I wasn't saying I was doing it in the middle of the lake on the. But so, what other great things do you think that you did with us that you really enjoyed? I'm trying to think of, enjoyable moments from your...
The most enjoyable moment was when you turned 18 and left home.
Oh.
Nah, I'm just joking.
Oh, God.
You can cut that one out. No.
Let me ask you about that. Abe is about to leave, and I'm anticipating a deep sense of loss, and I'm being serious. Like, she's my partner. You didn't feel that way with us because we were more annoying at that point as teenage boys, or like when I left, Brian left, he was more problematic. He was easier to, he left, he was okay.
He left to go to rehab, right? That was great.
That's true. But then,
and then you left to go to college.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I realized that your mom and I were really, truly alone.
Yeah.
And it took me about 5 minutes of grief to figure out, holy shit.
You liked it.
Oh, we're golden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never really missed us that much.
No, I did.
No, I don't really think I don't think you.
How do you know if I miss you? You weren't there if you weren't there.
I never say I miss you. Ever. You were happy. I feel like that's good because you moved on to your next phase.
Now as you mention it, maybe I didn't miss you.
You don't remember a sense of, I remember the day you dropped me off at college, you cried.
Yeah, I did.
You were very proud, even though it was.
So proud that you got accepted to Cobleskill, one of the easiest schools to get in the entire country.
Easiest.
Yeah.
That was basically community college. They didn't deny anybody.
You got accepted there. And I said, wow, they accepted my son at Cobleskill, the easiest country in the school to get accepted to.
But as you know, I made the best of it. So good, in fact.
I was so proud of you.
I was so successful.
So proud of me for finding you a place to go.
You didn't find me that place. I found that. Mom went there, for Christ's sake.
We filled out the applications for you.
I don't think you did any of that.
I gave you the check.
Were you worried that we would want to go to some expense? You told me, correct me if I'm wrong, if you want to go to University of Colorado, first of all, son, they're not going to accept you because your grades aren't good enough. But even if you got in, I'm not paying for that one. You go to a state school. That was the deal, right? Go to state school, I'll pay for it. That was the deal.
That was
fair deal.
That was a fair deal.
I think that's a fair deal.
Knowing you couldn't get into a 4-year school,
yeah.
I was comfortable with that offer.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on past the best moments of your childhood, because now I want to look at the present. That's enough about the past. Presently, am I correct? You're spending a lot of time watching golf on TV. Is that right?
Not a lot of time, but I find golf to be one of the most relaxing, easiest things to watch. And don't forget, I don't watch it live. I watch it on DVR because I want to move it ahead.
Oh,
yeah. I don't dwell on the.
But you don't even like the game.
No, I hate golf. Hate it.
Why do you? Why are you enjoy watching it?
Because then? it's like meditating. What else moves that slowly? Nothing. It's a sport that moves. It's not even curling. It's golf.
Right.
You know, it's like let's go out and watch the apple tree. Easy, and it just moves along at its own pace. It's like watching the waves in the ocean.
You don't watch. Okay, calm down.
It's like driving down the street really slow.
You don't watch it.
You're going by you really slow. Golf.
All right.
And they never lose a ball. Those guys. I don't get that.
My next question is: if you could,
I lost a lot of golf balls.
Yeah,
a lot of golf balls.
Yeah,
they never lose a ball. It's amazing.
They're professionals.
Sure, that's why they're on TV. I don't watch tournaments where they have an amateur with a professional.
No.
Don't want to see those guys.
What's the difference there?
Because it's just a celebrity. They call them celebrity golf. Who gives a shit?
Let me ask you this. Be careful how you answer this one.
Jay-Z golf. I don't care.
Be careful how you answer this one.
I thought I'd throw that name out there, Jay-Z. Like I know who he is.
Do you know who Rihanna is? She's the halftime Super Bowl performer.
Rihanna is on the Super Bowl, and every time I turn on my Apple computer, she pops up. So I know who she is. She has this big feathery thing that she wears, and she's got hair about 8 feet over her head. Mm-hmm. That's Rihanna.
Are you excited to see her performance?
No, I couldn't care less. Okay. I don't even know what she does. She's a singer. I don't know if she's an actress or what she does.
You're not a big music guy. You're not like, let's go see the music. You didn't bring me to say.
I don't think Rihanna sings anything I like. Maybe she does. I don't know.
So let me ask you this: if you could go back to any time in your life, where you could choose to go back and kind of relive a moment or a period of time,
relive it.
Well,
maybe the same thing again.
No, like a fun time in your life, like anything that you did, and obviously there's plenty of different things. You don't have to pick one, but there's things that you enjoyed at certain periods of time, from skiing to cycling.
Yeah, I get your
family stuff. You had a softball. You played softball, recreational softball.
If I could go back in time, and you're saying like, what time would I go back to? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. What would?
Well, let's see. I've always said. People say the good old days, and my saying has always been, these are the good old days, with kind of a thing that it doesn't get any better than it is today, really, in a lot of respects. And if I was going to go back in time, I mean, let's say I was going to be 16 years old and go, wow, I just got my driver's license. I'm 16 years old. Well, I wouldn't own a car. I would be still going to high school, which I hated. I didn't have a girlfriend. So sounds great, but I wouldn't want to be 16 again.
Okay, so we delete 16 that
so
period.
We'll take 16 right out of the whole
awesome.
equation here.
Yeah.
Now let's skip forward to 23. The most carefree, simplest days of my entire life ever. Now, am I going back there knowing what I know now, or am I going back there to
No, you don't know. I don't
know anything. I'm just going to be 23 again?
I think so, yeah.
Then
that was good times. You rode around a motorcycle.
Yeah, I did a lot of stuff
Carefree.
when I was 20. I did everything. I wasn't.
No helmet?
No, but then let's
you wore
say,
a helmet.
So let's go to when I was 40 or whatever. I mean,
now you're married and
I had kids, and
2 kids. Me,
it was
being
great.
one.
I got a new house when I was 40.
When did you buy the new house?
I was 40.
40 years old.
Yeah. And then if I was, I don't know where I'd go back, what I'd do. Would I do it? I love it when people say, I'd do it all the same if I had to do over again. I'd do it all the same. I'd change so much shit. Are you kidding me?
Knowing what you know now, a lot of things you do differently.
I do it all the same, just the way I did. Oh, you had a perfect life, I guess, so you're all set.
I agree with you. Doesn't
get any better than it is today, then, Bubby. If you had set that great a life, just keep going.
When you say that, though, seriously, when you say it doesn't get basically you're saying the present moment is the best moment.
Yeah,
the moment I'm in.
Yeah,
but
right
now people say, I just read this thing that the older you get, a lot of times the happier people become because I think it's because there's kind of less stress or maybe responsibility. But I don't know. I mean, do you feel that life is easier going as the older you've gotten, as you've aged, or does that sound like bullshit to you?
Well, I've had some physical problems that have certainly put me back. I can still ski. I can still drive my car. I can still ride my bicycle. I can still. What is it, as good as it was 3 or 4 years ago? No. And am I concerned about today? Nope. Am I concerned about tomorrow? Not even a little bit. So it's pretty easy going. I planned it out and it worked.
When you say you're not concerned about today or tomorrow, I guess
I'm just not worried about anything.
You used to be more concerned because you had so many more responsibilities.
I worry about other things, but I don't worry about myself at all.
Yeah.
I have no worries about myself. I worry about my granddaughters. I worry about my wife, her mom,
me.
Things like that, but I don't worry about.
What about me?
I'm not worried about you.
Why not?
Why would I worry about you? You're an adult. You're 47 years old or whatever you are, and
that's what I am. Nailed it.
You're healthy, and I'm not worried about you.
Okay. All right. And what was my other one?
I don't know.
What were who are some of the most influential people in your life? That's what I wanted to ask you.
I think Paul Newman. Because we saw him at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, you never even met Paul Newman, though. So why was he?
He was very influential.
But you never met him, and yet he was influential.
Does he have blue eyes?
Yeah.
Do I have blue eyes?
Yes.
Coincidence?
I think it's a definition of a coincidence, but I don't know what you're talking about. Besides Paul Newman, by the way, probably one of the greatest celebrities, certainly of his generation, if not the actors, because he did that whole nonprofit, and I love all his products. Do you like his stuff? His dressings and his sauces, and all the money goes to
charity.
Yeah, all of it, 100%.
Yeah,
total nonprofit. Love it. So I like him for that. But who, besides obviously your parents, which we've talked about here before, and kind of maybe obvious,
is
there anybody
funny.
that
influential people in my life? There were a few guys that I worked with, and a few, believe it or not, customers that I had when I had my business, who kind of took me under their wing or gave me really good advice. And by the way, none of them was a lawyer.
You got a real adverse reaction to lawyers. You really don't like them.
Well, lawyers, I'm not against lawyers. They're just relatively useless.
Oh.
You hire a lawyer. Now, I know that if you put this on your radio, some of your listeners are lawyers.
They'll be deeply offended.
So if this deeply offends you, I don't care.
Right. What if you got canceled by the American Bar Association for making such a criticism? What if they come after you for saying that lawyers are useless? They would injure your ability to earn a living at this point.
They're not going to injure my ability. I got it all figured out.
Okay, so you're saying in terms of influential people, there's no lawyers, and we're dispensing,
no
we're just insulting lawyers.
No, it's just people that it's interesting because I there are people who are mentors that I never really even knew they were mentors at the time. And looking back, I go, wow, that guy gave me some really good advice.
Anything specific, like short period of time, or someone that you spent a long time, like
short periods, different things, not guys that people who would come up and say a little thing to me, like something about
get off my property.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, it just. I guess what I'm saying is that people who influence you, you may not know who they are at the time they're influencing you. And then you look back and say, holy shit, that guy really taught me a lot. And there were a lot of guys when I was younger. I mean, I'm talking 30 and under. A lot of people who influenced me quite a bit, who took me under their wing, who for whatever reason liked me. And I had customers that did me favors. They were paying me, I had insurance, they were paying me tons of money, and then they would come over and pave my driveway for free and shit like that, just because they wanted to do it. And I was young and broke.
Can we just talk about one of your, I think you admit now, a major mistake, although I talked about it recently and maybe you'll defend it. Major mistake of yours.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where you were in your life, but you're definitely retired. You sold your business.
Yeah.
You were managing some real estate, commercial real estate that you owned. So you're spending time doing that. But you had this crazy idea to buy a machine.
To stripe driveways.
Parking lots. You would put the stripes down for parking spots.
Yes.
People don't know that there's a machine. And for some reason you thought, I'll get one of those and I'll do it for my own properties, I think was your thinking. And I'll make a little extra money doing it for other people. And if I recall it correctly, these are your words, you never drew a straight line the whole time you owned it. You were no good at operating this machine. It was a worse headache than that boat.
May have said that.
You lost more money on that,
that's probably all true.
than anything you ever bought.
I spent more time getting that machine fixed than I did striping.
What were you thinking? That's what kind of labor? That sounds like a really hard job.
Well, what happened was a 5-gallon pail of striping paint is like 3 times the weight of a 5-gallon pail of water. And I ended up, I had stenosis in my back and it aggravated it. So I
didn't even know about that.
Getting rid of the machine, not getting paid for the biggest striping job I ever did, and surgery on my back. So it wasn't a real successful enterprise.
Remember we counted, did we do this last time we talked? 19 surgeries in your life? More than that, I think.
Yeah, we counted them.
We counted everything.
So we're not going to go there again.
No. Okay, so last thing I wanted to ask you today.
This is it?
I know you hate when we end. You keep going, but we got to do Super Bowl. We're preparing for the game, making all our food and stuff. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to
Who do I want in the Super Bowl?
No, forget that. I wanted you to comment on.
I wanted to talk about it.
Some current events. Yeah, but it's going to be over, so nobody will care. On a current event, you're paying
close.
They
might care who I want.
Okay, who do you want to win?
I don't know.
Why not?
Well, I'm a big Mahomes fan.
Mm-hmm. He's the quarterback for the.
But I like Philadelphia's uniforms.
You're.
I
what do you hate? You like Philly's uniforms?
Well, yeah, you don't root for a team anymore because they just keep switching players.
Right.
Like, if I was going to vote for a favorite team of mine, one of them would be San Francisco.
Because of?
Love their outfits.
I didn't know you thought about that much. You think San Francisco has the best uniforms?
How could you not think about it?
You like how tight those pants are.
Well, they're all tight.
Yeah.
And that's not part of it.
It's always been the case.
Your mother loves that.
You know why they wear tight, even jerseys now in football and pants? Harder to tackle them. That's true. Who wants to get tackled by the jersey? I was watching some.
They all wear tight jerseys.
Yeah, because I was.
But
they didn't used to.
Only one guy gets tackled.
Right.
So all the other guys are wearing tight jerseys.
You can't tackle them by the jersey. That's the point.
But the defensive guys are wearing tight jerseys.
Yeah, nobody cares. Here, let's not talk
it's
sports.
Also
me and you.
It's aerodynamic.
The last two people anybody wants to hear talk about sports is me and you, I think. Well,
I don't think so.
You have a lot of strong
opinions.
There's
some knowledge here.
You used to call into radio shows after the game and tell them.
Pissed off, yeah.
Yeah, we would be leaving the game.
I don't get frustrated about that shit anymore. I don't care.
I think it still bothers you a little bit, certain things. Yeah.
Some team
We'll
loses.
see. I'm gonna film Dad's reactions tonight about
Team
two
loses.
teams he could care less about.
Team loses.
Enraged
No.
at Mahomes for
No.
throwing it away. Okay, so this is the last thing. Current events. Anything you want to weigh in on? I know you love to talk U.S.-Chinese relations. Did you see the State of the Union? How do you feel about that whole drawn-out fight over the Speaker of the House thing?
Speaker of the House.
What else? The upcoming election.
What whole thing about the Speaker of the House? What do you do?
Oh, they couldn't elect. That's actually what's going
when
on.
they were electing him,
They couldn't get Kevin McCarthy is his name.
Yeah,
Speaker.
right. I mean, that whole thing. That was bizarre. I don't. I thought that my guy did a pretty good speech, and Joe
Biden,
Uncle Joe, sleepy Uncle Joe.
No, you love Joe Biden. He's always been one of your favorites.
Yeah,
long before.
now he's boring. He used to say all this stuff. They used to call him gaffes, and I go, gaffes? What? The guy said what he's thinking.
Right.
How is that a gaffe?
Right.
And now, Jesus, the guy never says anything bad. He's like dead on every time. It's like it's all rehearsed or something. And
well, yeah, I think probably
he's not my Uncle Joe anymore. He's just.
You miss his kind of misspeaking. He did a great job at the State of the Union, though. He's getting heckled.
Yeah, right. He didn't no gaffes, nothing. And then he looked up at those idiots up in the left corner up there and just smiled at them. That was pretty cool. Actually,
yeah.
Reminded me of like a jet fighter pilot. Just cool.
Yeah, he's cool.
Looking at him and shut you down.
But hold on a second. We were talking about this. Weigh in on this. The man is 2 years older than you.
Yes, he is.
Right?
Yeah.
He'll be 80 if he is reelected. Do you think...
No, he'll be 82 if he's reelected.
Okay. Even older.
That's older than 80. 82 is older.
What do you think about a man or woman that age in any kind of, government leadership role, a mayor, a governor, a senator, a congressperson, much less the president of the United States, 82 years old? What do you say? You're that age?
Well,
so you can't...
Me, personally, I don't want the job.
Could you do the job if you had all the knowledge and...
Somebody came to me and said, Chuck, would you like to be president of the United States?
Yeah.
And, if I didn't have to go through all the election stuff...
The campaign. That's hard.
The working part. They says you can just be president. I say that would be a really cool thing because you get your own chef, get your own airplane.
Yeah,
everybody answers to you.
Yeah,
and I could be like the last president was and say I don't want to be bothered with any details.
I know, but seriously, the highest stress job in the world, 8-10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like who at your age wants that? Much less could even do it. And everybody said he gave a great State of the Union. He was high energy. He signed autographs for an hour after. I get it, but he took a 9-hour nap that day, I think.
I am not an ageist, okay?
Sounds like you are. That's where I got it.
Well, you are, but I'm not. Because I look at the guy after, especially after a speech of me, and it's like, he's pretty sharp. And I know guys that are a lot older than him that are still working and doing an excellent job. They're still in great physical condition.
They're not president of the United States.
And I think that he would be 86 when he got done. So seriously, the thing I think about, okay, who's your vice president? That's what I think about.
Okay, but hold on a second. The difference between your friend, who you were telling me about earlier, is 92-year-old lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's up to him. The consequences of his job are only with his clients or whatever. In our case, he's the president of the United States.
Well, the point being,
you're serving in public. You're serving the public.
Some guys are sharp as a tack. I'm not as sharp as I used to be, and I could never maintain.
You could have fooled us with this interview.
I could never maintain the level of whatever it takes, the energy and everything. And I see Joe Biden goes bopping out like he's really all energized.
Yeah. Well, he's always been playing that game, though.
Yeah, he's playing that game because that he just got out of bed to do that.
Hey, but that sounded ageist.
Yeah, no, he did. I mean, he's old. I mean, he is old, but I don't. I would like to see. I don't know if he can get reelected. Fine, I'd be all for it.
Okay.
If he can get reelected, I'm all for it.
Sounds like a full-throated endorsement.
Because he can handle the other party. He wants to be bipartisan. And some of his advisors probably don't tell him the right thing to do once in a while, I wonder. But
anything in particular that you think he's made a mistake around?
I think that when he says things like in his speech where he says, and we did this and you didn't do that, that's not bipartisan. And I often wonder...
Not unifying. It's divisive,
it's not. It's divisive. And I often wonder, why don't they just say, hey, Republicans, you're the other side, okay? We want this. Bring us a proposal on this subject right here. Make it simple. Something that's not going to be totally controversial. And then you say, okay, you write it up. And if you guys write it up, you're a majority, we'll get it through. We'll work on it together. But they don't do that.
Well, that's because they don't have any more policies anymore.
Everything is controversial and Jesus.
They seem to be wrapped up.
If Nixon was in office today, never would have gotten thrown out.
I agree with you.
They would have,
for sure.
They would have heralded him as a hero.
Well, he didn't do nearly anything as bad as Trump did.
No. And it's just that was the old Republican Party, which I was a member of. I had no problem with it. And nobody, in fact, if you were a Republican or you were a Democrat, nobody cared.
Right.
It was not a subject to talk about. Now it's everybody's holy shit crazy.
Do you have any classified documents in your home?
If I do, I don't know about them.
Okay.
And if they come and look for them, I'm going to be out of town.
All right. Well,
Pence was at the ocean when they went to his house.
Who was?
Pence.
Oh, he was away.
He was visiting his relatives, his kids. He says, "Yeah, go to my house. I don't give a shit."
How do you think Mike Pence handles it when he's hanging out with relatives or kids and be like, "Hey, Papa," or whatever they call him, father?
Yeah.
How can you still like Donald Trump and his people? They tried to kill you, Papa. They wanted to kill you.
Well, Pence is...
somebody's telling him, come on, man. These people hate you. These people that you are going to need to support you if you run for president, they actually wanted to kill... Most of them want to kill you.
Yeah. He's in a tough spot, isn't he?
Well, no, he doesn't have to... No, he's fine. He should go off in the sunset.
I think he's going to run for president.
Oh, it'd be terrible for him, right?
For him.
Who likes him?
I'd vote for him. My kind of guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's a real honest broker, that Mike Pence. He stood right by Donald Trump that whole time.
Yeah.
It's a Christian conservative.
Well, he's going to testify, right?
Oh, he's been subpoenaed.
Yeah, he's going to testify.
Well,
and he's going to burn Trump.
Well, he might have to.
He's going to tell the honest truth because he's a good Christian man and he's going to live up to his oath.
Yeah.
Boy, isn't Romney looking like a hero now?
Oh, yeah. What do you think of that George Santos character?
There's my guy right there.
Yeah.
Holy shit, can he make up shit? I've always done that. I've always made up stories and things that I think are funny or amusing or
but at a cocktail party and it's of no consequence.
Yeah, no, I mean people ask me, look, I've got $32 million. I really don't give a shit. I tell everybody I got $32 million.
You do? That's your number.
And then I always tell them that $32 million because it's an odd number, and they go and they look at me like, do you really have that much money?
Yeah.
And I go, look, I just don't consider it that much money, It's $32 million. What's the big deal? All I'm telling you is I'm just not worried about the future.
Right. You wouldn't be.
Make up stories like that. And I think Santos is kind of like, same thing, except it's in Congress.
All right. We covered a lot of ground. We're going to wrap it up because I'm going to try to talk to Mom, too, if that's okay with you.
No. Okay.
I love you, Dad.
I love you too, Pete.
All right. Bye-bye.
Talk to your mother.
Okay.
Bye.
And there he goes. What did you think? I hope you appreciated that. It's obviously a little bit different than what we do normally, but Mom and Dad are on the show from time to time, and everybody always loves when they are. So hopefully that kicks your Monday off in a good mood, in a good way. Certainly did mine. Thanks so much for listening, and stay tuned for a lot more really exciting things that I got planned for this week, this very special week, because Ava's going to Spain. I'm very excited for her. Hope her phone works. All right, folks. I love you. I appreciate you. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider signing up right now, or else I won't be able to keep this thing going as long as I already have. So please sign up now. StandUpWithPete.com. Give a rating or review at Apple and Spotify and all that. And I will talk to you right here tomorrow. Jon Carroll sings our theme song, JonCarroll.org. Take it away, John. Thank you, John. Thank you, Pete Co. Thank you, Odessa, the intern producer. And I will talk to you tomorrow.
Stand up, you gotta stare the devil